some of the scaremongering that I've seen, it's kind of, it doesn't feel too far away for people. So some people are already fed up of the conversation. As soon as new buzzwords come in, like AI and machine learning and deep learning and stuff like that, there's obviously the people kind of in the media that kind of try and flip it. But there's certain things, like I'm seeing, cognitive technologies coming through, where in the HR function, it's not 5 to 10 years away, I don't think, for some of these things. And certainly with shared service centers, which are pretty robotic jobs. I call these slave centers. Yeah. That's the way I look at them, because they're devoid of skill sets, where people are learning how to project manage, how to communicate, how to manage.
Call centers are going to be toast in the next 2 or 3 years.
Toast, I like this word, toast.
And then you're going to have a lot of the other jobs beginning to be automated in the next 3 to 5 years. So there is reason to worry, which is why the work you're doing on the future of work is important, because we need to raise awareness. And more importantly, we need to make the workforce aware of what's going to happen to them. That, it used to be that when you graduated, when I was young, my parents used to tell me, look, you should be a doctor or an engineer. In our generation, you're not that young, my friend, but in our generation, we selected a career when we were young, right? And then we studied for it, and that career was supposed to last a lifetime. The half-life of a career now is about 5 years. Okay, that's really how fast things are changing. That we're going to have multiple careers in our lifetime. It used to be that learning stopped when you graduated. Now learning has to start when you graduate, because if you don't keep your skills current, you're going to be toast. Yeah. So it's almost a certainty that if you're not staying abreast of all the latest technology changes and all the new things that are happening, you will be unemployed. And it's not going to be your company's fault. It's your fault, because you didn't open your eyes and start learning about the new things that were happening. Take a simple example. 5 years ago, the CEOs of companies most companies didn't use email. Today, you don't use email, you're toast. Yeah. Because your board members do, so the executives use email. Right. It used to be that the way you managed was by, just be hierarchical, top down. That you would get a memo from the CEO every year or so, defining what the strategic vision was, and that's when you heard from your CEO and so on. Now you're hearing from your CEO practically every week. You basically have to communicate. You manage by communication, not by trying to control or command. Now everyone has a voice. That before, the gossip would be spread around the water cooler. Now you're blind copied on 100 emails every day.
It's very transparent.
Exactly. Anything that happens anywhere in the company, you know about it about 10 minutes later. Yeah. You can't hide facts anymore. So everything is changing in the workplace. Everything is changing in the way you manage. Everything is changing in the way you control. Everything is changing in the way you look for threats to your business. Everything is changing rapidly.
And how do we deal with this? This is the thing for me, and it's part of the reason why I've come to you today. One of those clients, on the AI space, where it's going to kill all those shared service jobs. And we're from Budapest, half the jobs there, and it's a lot of young people. These are the jobs they're in. They're not aware that these jobs are going to be replaced by machines. And it's very clear, it's the tier 1, tier 2 jobs are going to be gone. There's still a need for customer service, but
Not sure about that.
Okay, we'll have that conversation.
Look at the new bots that are coming. For example, yesterday Google announced their home products. Right. These little bots can talk to you. Yep. You can carry conversations with them. Amazon is offering a $2.5 million prize to anyone who can develop the AI software that can have a conversation for 20 minutes, with you. These things are getting pretty darn good. Right. I give it another year or two before they can do high quality customer service.
We won't be able to tell the difference.
We won't be able to tell the difference. Like I said, if you listen to the output of Google's new voice synthesis technology, it sounds pretty human-like. The older stuff didn't, but this is based on deep learning. Yeah. It sounds very human-like. Yeah. You can't tell the difference, really.
It does. It's a massive revolution, isn't it? I don't think.
And most people are not aware of it. People are not aware of it. Yeah. I mean, because we're on this exponential curve. People are used to look to linear, flat progressions of technology where you could see what was happening.
Linear you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, now it's exponential. Everything is changing rapidly. It's multiple technologies advancing exponentially and converging. And when the convergence happens, industries get wiped out. So back to your question as to what can people do? It depends on what level you're at. If you're the CEO of a company, you better start now understanding various technologies, the convergences, and you better start shifting your strategies, because you can't be organized the way you were before, which was in divisions, where people focused only on one technology, on one type of thing. You need to rethink the way you run the company, the way you do innovation, the way you're organized, structured, the way you look at the competition, the way you market, sell, everything from the CEO level. If you're an employee, you better now realize that there's a greater than 50% likelihood that no matter what job you're doing, it's going to become obsolete in the next 5-7 years or so. So the onus is on you to start learning the things I'm talking about. So if AI is a threat to jobs, I tell you, learning AI and being able to apply it to different areas is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because AI can be applied to anything where data is needed. And data is everywhere. I mean, we have sensors everywhere now. The cameras are sensors, we have heat sensors, light sensors, we have traffic sensors, pollution sensors, all these sensors. We have wearables that are all gathering data, right? Our genome has been sequenced. The cost of sequencing will drop to about $100 within the next 3 or 4 years, which means that everyone will be sequenced. Our microbiome will be sequenced. So in other words, data. So yes, people in Silicon Valley working on some applications, but the number of applications of this technology are almost endless. Because even though you have people in tech centers in Silicon Valley and the world solving some problems, the range of problems is almost infinite. There are a billion problems to solve. Well, if you can now learn these technologies, you can now be at the forefront of change and be providing tremendous value. And you can be now, it's not that you can be part of the elite few that get paid the mega bucks and that benefit from the change. Be at the forefront of it.
Is it going to help the 1%? Is it going to help
the
that
1%,
dynamic?
The 1% are going to become richer. The Zuckerbergs are going to go from being billionaires to being trillionaires. So that's inevitable.
Are you for a tolerance for society out there to kind of allow this to keep going?
I'm terrified about it. I mean, I just finished the manuscript of a book which is going to be out in the first quarter of next year called Driver and the Driverless Car. The theme of the book is that we have a choice of what we do with technology, and if we get it right, we build Star Trek 300 years ahead of schedule. If we get it wrong, we build Mad Max.
What's the future then for the next, say, let's be realistic here, the kind of where people, I think our audience would like to know, in terms of what's working, what's become irrelevant, and kind of the next 2 or 3 years?
Next 2 or 3 years are more of the same. Next 5 to 10 years become amazing, scary at the same time. So, and next 15 years or so, really, I see Mad Max or Star Trek. And I'm the optimist. I think we'll get to Star Trek because humanity will get its act together. We will get beyond the craziness that we're seeing, and we will figure out how to share the prosperity and to uplift humanity. And I think we're going to have Star Trek 300 years ahead of schedule.
The future of work, do you experience, what's your experience of the world?
No, the future of work, it's going to be a roller coaster. You either learn and adapt or you perish. It's that simple. I hate to be this blunt, but really you must start learning about the things I'm talking about. You must start learning how to reposition yourself, how to uplift yourself. You must start preparing yourself for an uncertain career because everything's going to be changing. And really my view is that if we get this right, if we can share the prosperity, then we win. We create Star Trek. Because at the end of the day, who wants to work 50 hours a week?
Right.
What if we could live a lifestyle, have all of our basic needs met, have unlimited healthcare, education, energy, have all the food we want, have safe, clean housing, and we only have to work 10 hours a week.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Vivek, thanks a million for having us here today.
Thank you, my friend.